with this Sangha this morning. It is, so wonderful. Just to see the way that these classes are going on, and that everyone is inspiring each other. The honesty of the question and answer sessions, the conversations that are going on here.
Yeah, Q&A is our favorite.
It's so wonderful. And I'm smiling because I'm seeing Ananda Bihari Prabhu, seeing all of you. So thank you. We can continue with this wonderful Leela, 10th canto, and the demigods are about to offer their prayers this morning. So we will go ahead and I'll share the screen here. There we go. So we'll be reading this morning from 10th canto, chapter 2, text number 26. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. Satyavratam Satyaparam Trisatyam Satyasya Yonim Nihitam Shasatye Satyasya Satyam Rita Satya Netram Satyatmakam Tvam Sharanam Prapanaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The demigods prayed, O Lord, you never deviate from your vow, which is always perfect, because whatever you decide is perfectly correct and cannot be stopped by anyone. Being present in the three phases of cosmic manifestation, creation, maintenance, and annihilation, you are the supreme truth. Indeed, unless one is completely truthful, one cannot achieve your favor, which therefore cannot be achieved by hypocrites. You are the active principle, the real truth, in all the ingredients of creation, and therefore you are known as Antaryami, the inner force. You are equal to everyone, and your instructions apply for everyone, for all time. You are the beginning of all truth. Therefore, offering our obeisances, we surrender unto you. Kindly give us protection. Purport. The demigods or devotees know perfectly well that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the true substance, whether within this material world or in the spiritual world. Srimad Bhagavatam begins, therefore, with the words, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Satyam Param Dhimahi. Vasudev, Krishna, is the Param Satyam, the supreme truth. The supreme truth can be approached or understood by the supreme method, as declared by the supreme truth. Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tatvataha. Bhakti, devotional service, is the only way to understand the absolute truth. For protection, therefore, the demigods surrender to the supreme truth, not to the relative truth. There are persons who worship various demigods, but the supreme truth, Krishna, declares in Bhagavad Gita 7:23, Antavat tu palam tesham tad bhavat yalpa me dasam. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Worship of demigods may be useful for a limited time, but the result is antavat, perishable. This material world is impermanent. The demigods are impermanent. and the benedictions derived from the demigods are also impermanent, whereas the living entity is eternal. Nityo nityanam chaitanas chaitanam. Kata Upanishad 2:13. Every living entity, therefore, must search. Every living entity, therefore, must search for eternal happiness, not temporary happiness. The words Satyam Param Dhimahi indicate that one should search for the absolute truth, not the relative truth. While offering prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Nrsimhadev, Prahlad Maharaj said, Balasya neha sharanam pitarau Narsimha, nartasya chagadam udanvati majato nau. Generally, it is understood that the protectors for a child are his parents, but this is not actually the fact. The real protector is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Taptasya tat pratividir ya ihangya seshtas tavad vibo tanu britam tvad upekshitanam. Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th Canto, Chapter 9, Text 19. If neglected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, a child, despite the presence of his parents, will suffer, and a diseased person, despite all medical help, will die. In this material world, where there is a struggle for existence, men have invented many means for protection, but these are useless if the Supreme Personality of Godhead rejects them. Therefore, the demigods purposefully say, Satyatmakam tvam sharanam prapanaha. Real protection can be obtained from you, O Lord, and therefore we surrender unto you. The Lord demands that one surrender unto him, sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam braja. And he further says, Sakrid eva prapano yas tava smiti chayachate abhayam sarvadatasmai dadamyetad vratam mama. If one surrenders unto me sincerely, saying, My Lord, from this day I am fully surrendered unto you, I always give him protection. That is my vow, Ramayana. The demigods offered their prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead because he had now appeared in the womb of his devotee Devaki to protect all the devotees harassed by Kamsa and his lieutenants. Thus, the Lord acts as Satyavrata. The protection given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be compared to the protection given by the demigods. It is said that Ravana was a great devotee of Lord Shiva, but when Lord Ramachandra went to kill him, Lord Shiva could not give him protection. Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, accompanied by great sages like Narada and followed by many other demigods, had now invisibly appeared in the house of Kamsa. They began to pray for the Supreme Personality of Godhead in select prayers, which are very pleasing to the devotees and which award fulfillment of devotional desires. The first words they spoke acclaimed that the Lord is true to his vow. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna descends upon this material world just to protect the pious and destroy the impious. That is his vow. The demigods could understand that the Lord had taken his residence within the womb of Devaki to fulfill this vow. They were very glad that the Lord was appearing to fulfill his mission, and they addressed him as Satyam Param, or the Supreme Absolute Truth. Everyone is searching after the truth. That is the philosophical way of life. The demigods give information that the Supreme Absolute Truth is Krishna. One who becomes fully Krishna conscious can attain the Absolute Truth. Krishna is the Absolute Truth. Relative truth is not truth in all the three phases of eternal time. Time is divided into past, present, and future. Krishna is truth always, past, present, and future. In the material world, everything is being controlled by supreme time in the course of past, present, and future. But before the creation, Krishna was existing. When there is creation, everything is resting in Krishna. And when this creation is finished, Krishna will remain. Therefore, he is absolute truth in all circumstances. If there is any truth within this material world, it emanates from the supreme truth, Krishna. If there is any opulence within this material world, the cause of the opulence is Krishna. If there's any reputation within this material world, the cause of the reputation is Krishna. If there's any strength within this material world, the cause of such strength is Krishna. If there's any wisdom and education within this material world, the cause of such wisdom and education is Krishna. Therefore, Krishna is the source of all relative truths. Devotees, therefore, following in the footsteps of Lord Brahma, pray, Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami, worshipping the Adi Purusha, the supreme truth, Govinda. Everything, everywhere, is performed in terms of three principles, jnana, bala, kriya, knowledge, strength, and activity. In every field, if there is not full knowledge, full strength, and full activity, an endeavor is never successful. Therefore, if one wants success in everything, one must be backed by these three principles. In the Vedas, Svetasvatara Upanishad 6.8, there is this statement about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate, natat samash cha vyadikash cha drishyate, parasya shaktir vividaiva shruyate, Swabhaviki Jnana Balakriya Cha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead does not need to do anything personally, for he has such potencies that anything he wants done will be done perfectly well through the control of material nature. Swabhaviki Jnana Balakriya Cha. Similarly, those who are engaged in the service of the Lord are not meant to struggle for existence. The devotees who are fully engaged in spreading the Krishna consciousness movement, more than 10,000 men and women all over the world, have no steady or permanent occupation. Yet, we actually see that they are maintained very opulently. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 9:22, Ananyaschintayanto mam ye janaha paryupasate tesham nitya viyuktanam yogashemam vahamyaham. For those who worship me with devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, I carry to them what they lack and preserve what they have. The devotees have no anxiety over what will happen next, where they will stay or what they will eat, for everything is maintained and supplied by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has promised, Konteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. From all angles of vision, therefore, and all circumstances, if one surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no question of one struggling for existence. In this connection, the commentary by Sripad Madhvacharya, who quotes from the Tantra Bhagavat, is very meaningful. Sachchadba uttamam bruyad anandantiti vaivaded. Yeti jnanam samudistam purnananda drishistataha. Atritvachcha tadadanat satyatya chochate vibhuhu. Explaining the words Satyasya Yonim, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that Krishna is the avatari, the origin of all incarnations. All incarnations are the absolute truth, yet the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the origin of all incarnations. Deeparchir evahi dasantaram abhyupetya deepayate. From Samhita. There may be many lamps, all equal in power, yet there is a first lamp, a second lamp, a third lamp, and so on. Similarly, there are many incarnations who are compared to lamps, but the first lamp, the original personality of Godhead, is Krishna. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. The demigods must offer worship in obedience to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But one might argue that since the Supreme Personality of Godhead was within the womb of Devaki, he was also coming in a material body. Why then should he be worshipped? Why should one make a distinction between an ordinary living entity and the Supreme Personality of Godhead? These questions are answered in the following verses. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrachatam Sahagana Raganatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we thank you all so much for joining this morning. Wonderful to see everyone. And we'd like to humbly request each and every one of you to offer your blessings and well wishes that we can have a meaningful, beneficial, pleasing discussion this morning that is faithful to the Shastra, faithful to our teachers, and will also help us to practically be inspired in our day-to-day spiritual life. We can seek the blessings. Thank you, Adipurusha Prabhu. Thank you, everyone, for offering the blessings. They are felt, and in this way we can speak a little bit. Srila Prabhupada has already said it all. What a beautiful purport, incredible, and even left us with a cliffhanger at the end. If we want to understand why Krishna can be worshipped, although he's within the womb of Devaki, we will learn this in the following verses. That was beautiful to see also, that the Shastra is just unfolding in front of us as we read. And with these purports, with these commentaries, everything is being illuminated so beautifully. This is why Srila Prabhupada urged us so deeply to study his books, because everything is contained within them. So Srila Prabhupada emphasizes a few points here in the purport multiple times. So we'll just explore a couple of those points. So Srila Prabhupada is emphasizing that Krishna is the source of all. He is the absolute truth, Satyam Param Dhimahi. I meditate on the supreme absolute truth. The relative truth is emanating from the absolute truth. All relative truths, anything that we see in this material world that has the nature of truth, is connected to the absolute truth. This is where it gets its quality of truth. And Srila Prabhupada expands upon this and explains that all opulence that we may see in this world, all strength, all reputation, all knowledge and wisdom that we may perceive in this world are to be understood as emanating, coming from Krishna. And of course, in Bhagavad Gita, the opulence of the absolute, Krishna offers so many beautiful examples of this, of bodies of water, I am the ocean, of aquatics, I am the shark. That Krishna shows in so many ways. I am the taste of water. So many, but he offers all of these wonderful examples of how we can practically see him as we go through the world, and how we can understand that he is the superlative, that anything superlative that we experience in this life is a reflection of the Supreme Lord, and actually that he is those superlatives, that it's all connected to him. So similarly, in this purport, Srila Prabhupada is sharing this point that relative truth is coming from absolute truth, yet we don't take shelter of relative truth. Relative truth is something that is bound to a particular time. We have past, present, and future. Relative truth changes, right? We see very practically that things are always changing in this world. Like a popular saying, change is the only constant. Of course, this is not quite true. That applies to this material realm. So this is what Srila Prabhupada is showing us here also, that change is not the only constant, that Krishna is the ultimate constant and is unchanging. But within this material sphere, yes, we can say that this is true. Everything is changing. And the most powerful person one day will be vanquished the next day. And similarly, one who is struggling greatly, their circumstances may change. These are all seasons that we're going through. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that happiness and distress are like the changing seasons. And we try to tolerate them without being disturbed. Of course, this is heartening to know when we're going through difficult times. It's heartening to know that change may very well be on the horizon, because happiness and distress are always changing, just like the seasons. But similarly, when things are going quite well for us, we don't want to become overly prideful. We recognize that in just a moment, things can change tremendously. So Krishna is the absolute truth. And this is why, because of this constant change, because things are always shifting in our lives, we seek to take shelter of Krishna as the absolute truth. Because we by nature, as Prabhupada is explaining here, are eternal. Our ultimate nature is Sat Chit Ananda. We are eternal and full of knowledge and bliss. Of course, it's not always easy to experience this, but by taking shelter of Krishna, we progressively begin to glimpse this and experience it. And in this way, that eternal reality that we do exist within is quenched. We receive, our thirst is quenched. The thirst of the Atma, of the soul, is quenched when we take shelter of the eternal. Because the eternal soul cannot be satisfied by anything temporary. The temporary body, the temporary mind may be satisfied by relative truth or by temporary happiness. But the eternal part of us, which is the whole of us actually, our eternal self is really satisfied by what is eternal, what is real and true, satyam. So in this way, we are urged to take shelter of the absolute. So it's not so easy, because it has to do with our identification also. As we identify with the body, with the mind, we want those forms of happiness that give immediate satisfaction to the body and to the mind. Yet the more we come to progressively, through devotional service, through association with devotees, through chanting and hearing, the more we come to gradually identify with the soul as the soul, then in that way we may begin to seek those forms of happiness that bring lasting joy and are actually directed toward our truest, deepest self. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains that material happiness starts like nectar, but ends like poison. So we become disappointed. And we hear so many times of people who have achieved the greatest heights of material opulence. And actually for them, this is a time of great despair, because we're built up so much in this life to think that if I have X, Y, and Z, then I will become happy. Most of us don't even get to experience that disappointment, because we spend our whole lives in pursuit of something and it doesn't necessarily come. We have all different karmic circumstances. But those who actually attain such things quite often experience very deep disappointment. And if they do, that's their good fortune, because Krishna is present as Paramatma, super soul within the heart of every living being. And Krishna allows us to experience what would be called material exhaustion. In this way, we may become more open to taking shelter of all of the mercy that is coming our way, that is freely flowing, especially in this Kali Yuga. And there's a passage that in Chaitanya Charitamrita it is said that Kali Yuga is worshipable, because in this age we can so easily attain love of God, so easily connect to Krishna through his holy name. He's so available in this way. So anyway, the relative truth is always connected to the absolute truth, but we strive to take shelter of the absolute truth. But as we are dealing with relativity in this world, we understand that it is emanating from the absolute truth, that Mahavishnu is there. He is exhaling. Krishna in his form as Mahavishnu is reclining and exhaling universes. Every time he inhales, universes are annihilated, entering into his body. And as he exhales, countless universes are being created. And it doesn't just end there, his presence. It's not that he stays there as Mahavishnu and the universes are just Haribol, going on their way. But actually that Krishna is present as Shirodakshayi Vishnu within each universe, and ultimately within each atom and within every living entity within their heart. So there's no doubt that the absolute truth is always present, even in what seems to be a relative world. But that connection, that connection to the absolute truth is necessary. And we hear many times about yukta vairagya, this principle of connecting everything to Krishna. And in this way, it's like a light switch sometimes that needs to be flipped. The electric connection may already be there, the bulb may be good, but if you can't find the switch, nothing will happen. So in this way, as we connect things in our life to Krishna, things that may even be on a relative scale, we find ways to connect them to Krishna, then they're illuminated by the absolute. So Srila Prabhupada's emphasizing so beautifully in this purport that those who are connected in this way to Krishna and who have surrendered, who take shelter of devotional service, that all of their needs are taken care of. And so beautifully gives that example of, the Krishna consciousness movement, those who were present. And at that time, he says over 10,000 who were dedicated to Krishna consciousness, that their needs are taken care of. Although they may not have a permanent residence, they may not have a permanent fixed occupation. So this is such a beautiful example, and I'm always in awe when we hear about devotees who are so dedicatedly serving full time and living in the communities, and especially in the early days, devotees such as Adipurusha Prabhu, Arjuna Prabhu, who we have the fortune of being connected with. It's just amazing to imagine the faith of these devotees. For myself, I can only imagine. But in this way, that faith of we're going where we need to go, we're going where our service will take us. Krishna is going to provide. Srila Prabhupada's teachings are going to be guiding us, that we're doing everything for this movement and we don't worry about our own maintenance. It's incredible. And this principle is not just something that was there at that time. The principle remains. But it's very special souls that are able to take that shelter fully. And we're just reading in this chapter, we're reading about Kamsa and his fear, his immense fear now that he knows that Krishna has taken up his position in the womb of Devaki, and Devaki is effulgent, and Kamsa can perceive this. So imagine, Kamsa, the class the other day, Jamuna Jaya was speaking. Someone in the assembly here, maybe one of you here, said that Kamsa could have been like Haridas Thakur, actually, in a certain way. because he's always thinking of Krishna. He's lying awake at night, Krishna, 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 right? Incredible. And this is Krishna consciousness. But Srila Prabhupada explains that he is unfavorably Krishna conscious. So imagine if that Krishna consciousness, that meditating on Krishna that was already there so strongly, if that could have been turned. So in this way, surely Krishna would have given shelter to Kamsa. If Kamsa turned to Krishna, Krishna would have given shelter. We can say, of course, Krishna's Leela plays out in exactly the way that it's meant to play out. But we can say, hypothetically speaking, Krishna gives shelter to those who favorably turn to him. So for us, we all have, we may have this fear of Krishna. Sometimes C.S. Lewis said something. He said that when he was first he became a very pious Christian person, very dedicated Christian. But at first he was an atheist. And he said, when he started to perceive that God was existing, it was very confronting to him because he felt that God is the ultimate interferer. This is how he thought of God in the beginning. God is the ultimate interferer, interfering with all of our business and changing things, So in this way, we may have some fear of Krishna's intervention in our life, that somehow Krishna may really change things in a big way. And of course, we do have attachments, conditioning there. But it has to do with this trust, like the trust of the early devotees in our movement we see so beautifully. And also, of course, there are many devotees today who have that kind of faith, that Krishna knows what is best for us. Krishna is the absolute truth. He knows past, present, and future already. So we may have some little plan. Oh, maybe this would be nice if things were to happen in this way. But as we become more truthful, see, this is a very important point in this verse, that complete truthfulness is necessary to achieve the favor of the Lord. So what does that mean? It means also admitting that we don't know, because everything is so relative. We can't see, we don't know what will happen tomorrow. But sometimes we still have this controlling spirit. So it's to recognize that Krishna is Ishvara, that Krishna is the controller. Not only that he's the controller, but that he's also the supreme friend, that he knows and also personally wants what is best for us on our path. So many on the spiritual path identify as seekers of truth. This is one of the types of people who comes to devotional service, those who are seeking truth and a deeper understanding about life. But without truthfulness, it's interesting, we may seek truthfulness, we may seek truth about creation, about life, about this world, about the supreme, but we don't always want to seek truthfulness about our own self. So we're part of it. We're part of the equation here. And the demigods are praying here that Krishna, without being fully truthful, we cannot seek you. And you're not available to those who, they use the word hypocrites, those who are hypocrites. So to be completely frank, this is a very inspiring point. I was just really meditating on this in this verse, that this is being stated quite plainly. And so what does it mean, right? What does it mean to be completely frank and to be completely truthful? It means to not pretend or feel the pressure to pretend that we have it all figured out. It's a danger, it's a pitfall sometimes on the spiritual path, that when we come in contact with great ideas, wonderful teachings, that we feel that we need to all of a sudden be perfectly carrying them out. And of course, this is not the realistic truth. Spiritual life is progressive. It's a progressive path. So to come in contact with these great ideas, of course, to uphold them as our ultimate goal. But there's gyan, there's knowledge, and there's vigyan, realization. And that comes when the knowledge plays out in our lives. and it can take time. So to approach the Lord in this very humble state of being, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Trinada Pisanichena in his Chikshastakam prayer, that, to be tolerant as a tree, as humble as a blade of grass, expecting no respect from others, but offering all respect to those we come in contact with, right? To offer all respect to others, but to expect nothing for ourselves in this way. This is a mood of being completely frank. And if we can't be frank with ourselves, it's actually very difficult to be frank with Krishna, because we don't know what to tell, we don't know what to pray, we don't know what to say. So this inner sincerity is a very, very important prerequisite for a spiritual life. That spiritual life is a shelter. We hear so many times that it's a shelter, but it's not a hiding place, it's a shelter. But we can't really hide within the confines of spiritual life. Otherwise, of course, by coming in contact with all of these beautiful teachings and practices, things will progressively happen. But if we hide our challenges, then things can take a much longer time, because we're hiding things from the light. If we can offer everything to Krishna, in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, Krishna says, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, and whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me. So we can offer even our hidden struggles and our more unfavorable aspects of our life. We can offer that to Krishna when we're praying. That grappling that we're doing with our conditioning, with our anarthas, with all of the difficulty and darkness that may be there, that is also an offering to Krishna. It's an austerity that is very much offerable to Krishna, provided that we're doing this to come closer to him. We're doing it for his ultimate pleasure, out of a desire to serve. So if we pray very honestly, we're exposing these things to the light. We're acknowledging within ourselves that the struggles are there, because sometimes that's not even there, right? We don't always even acknowledge what we're going through personally. We stay busy. We don't take the time to really look at things. And we may stay busy even with, with devotional service, which nothing wrong at all. That's the most wonderful thing that we can do. But at the same time, there's that need, as it says here, to be truthful about where we are and what we're going through. So also confiding in trusted devotees, not that we go around proclaiming openly, to anyone and everyone, oh, I'm such a terrible sinner and so on. But at the same time, if we have trusted devotees who we can confide in, this is there in that Dadati pratigrinati guyam akyati prichati bunkte bojayate chaiva sadvidam priti lakshanam. This is the 6 loving exchanges between devotees, and this is in Nectar of Instruction. And one of those is revealing one's mind in confidence and inquiring confidentially. So we share, and we also inquire and hear. So we can have these loving, honest exchanges with devotees in our lives. And this sheds light on everything. And it feels good. I can say, just from my own experience, when we get the chance to share a struggle we're having with a devotee who cares deeply about us, when we can share honestly like that, you just immediately feel like it's been placed out into the open before the light. And then when the light is there, just as the sun is a purifier, right? If you leave something out in the sun, it eventually becomes purified. So if we share our struggles and shed light on them, then things can happen. There's a lot of mercy there. So the last leg of Dharma we hear in Srimad Bhagavatam is truthfulness, right? That there's austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. And that in Kali Yuga, actually austerity, cleanliness, and mercy are considered to be all gone. And the last leg remaining is truthfulness. And then in Kali Yuga, there are so many risks even that is diminishing. So Krishna preserves what we have and carries what we lack, as it says, as Prabhupada mentions in this purport. So we don't need to fear that we'll lose the good things that we've been given, but we also share what we lack. what's missing. We share that with Krishna, with the devotees, and we pray about it. So Prabhupada explains that those who understand this, they don't actually have fear of what will come next. So imagine that. We give up our controlling nature. We find some way to give up this Ishvara Bhav, this controlling mood, and offer it all to the real controller, the real benefactor, and trust and have faith in our connection to Krishna. This is why Srila Prabhupada explains that devotees are fearless. They're actually fearless because we know ultimately we can see when we reach that level, we see that Krishna is fully involved in our life, that he knows what is best, and that we don't have to fear for our next steps. So meanwhile, while we do have the fears, we try to offer them up and be truthful and try to remember Krishna, not only in the good times, but in the hard times. It's easy to remember in the good times, thank you, Lord. In the hard times, though, we take shelter of that remembrance. Just last night, we saw His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj in New Jersey. He came to New Jersey just suddenly out of nowhere. And it's just unbelievable. Maharaj, he has all of, physical issues that have been going on. He is fully surrendered and fearless. And it was just incredible to see him being there, serving Srila Prabhupada, serving the mission, going on and on, just so inspiring. I can't even speak to it, but wanted to share something that he said, on this note. Just last night, he said, if we can remember Lord Chaitanya, everything will become easy. And he said, but if we forget Lord Chaitanya, even the easiest thing will become very hard. So those who are remembering the Lord, they can do incredible things that seem insurmountable. But if we forget the connection, then in this way, life becomes very challenging. So thank you all so much. I'll stop here and very eager to open up the discussion. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Bandhu Prabhu. You've ever been in a shelter?
Pardon?
Did you ever, were you ever in a shelter?
Like a homeless shelter?
Yeah.
I have visited a shelter before.
Yeah, you know the rule that they have there for the day? You know what they do during the day to all the residents?
No.
They get them out. You have to go out for the day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's how devotee take shelter of Krishna. They go out and serve Krishna and reach out to others. This is the shelter, not a hideout, not a confinement. We go out for the day. Krishna gets us out. Yeah. Just a quick thing. Okay, let's do it. Akiko-chan, Adipusha Prabhu, Hemangi, all the devotees that are keeping their cameras on, they're expected to contribute first. Andrea, unmute yourself.
Well, I was going to say, we heard Adi Purusha's name so much during the purport. I feel like he should go first.
Yeah.
My name is Adi Purusha Das. Adi Purusha should go first. He's the foremost. Actually, Adi Purusha means the one who has the most fun. Krishna is the foremost enjoyer, right? He has the most fun. And he's enjoying us. We are to give pleasure. We are Prakriti. We are feminine in the sense that we're meant to please him with what we do, what we say, what we think, where we go. And a wonderful class orbiting around the idea of the absolute truth and the relative truth. And examples are appropriate. Relative truths are those ephemeral, like smoke, you try to grab smoke, it's here and gone, So many things in this world are in transition, and they appear and disappear, like the winter and summer seasons and the heat and cold and fame and infamy. And then there's the absolute truth. And you were talking about connecting to the absolute truth and taking shelter of the absolute truth. And that's our devotional service. Matra sparshas tu kaunteya shitoshi shukaduga. It says that these other things, they come and go, and one must tolerate them and not be disturbed. And what is not disturbed? What is not disturbed? We don't feel the heat. We don't feel the criticism and the fame and the winter and what was not disturbed is our service. Therefore, the relationship with Guru is very important, because Guru indicates, sometimes Guru will say, figure out how to help, how to push on Lord Chaitanya's movement. And then what about okay, do that. Sometimes he just lets us pick it out and then gives us his blessing and encouragement. And sometimes he gives the Kurukshetra moment. This is your prescribed duty. Prabhu Dash, this is your place to serve. This is who I want you to work with, And when he tells you that, your own preferences, I like this, I don't like that, this is easy, this is difficult, I understand this, I expected that. No, all that is out the window. And then you have that guiding star, you have that point of connection, you have that solid, unchanging, the relationship with spiritual master is the only way to obtain pure devotional service. And in one sense, your prescribed duty may change, but devotional service, the principle of devotional service doesn't change. That's who we are. That's our life's breath. We were talking to Janavi Mataji the other day, and we mentioned, your address is Kirtan. Where do you live? Kirtan. When somebody says, where do you, I live in Kirtan. That's our Satatam Kirtan, always glorifying Krishna. How wonderful is Krishna? Our devotional service is our connection, our relationship with everything. And that doesn't change. Anyway, just reflections on your reflections. Please, everyone, we'll welcome your comments.
Thank you so much.
Bhima Prabhu, in the dark. Are you offering your darkness to Krishna, Bhima Prabhu? Yes, frozen. Okay, I see now. Go ahead, Bhima Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Bhima Prabhu.
Haribo, Dina Bandhu. Wonderful class, very comforting. I have to pull over the side of the road because I'm going in and out of hills and I break up very quickly. Sometimes for simple folk like myself who philosophy is like those rubber toys that you used to throw at the wall and would just drip down the wall and fall on the ground. That philosophy comes into my head and it just and then the next thing you know, I'm facing the world without Krishna. And even at this late date in my life, I tell you that one of the first things I do in the morning, because I own my own business, there's a lot of trouble. And the anxiety comes up and I actually have to run to the Gita and just read any verse, serendipitously open up the Gita, and especially second chapter. Oh, I'm eternal. All right, don't worry about it. But I tell you the one thing, and thank God, thank Krishna, thank Lord Chaitanya, thank Prabhupada, the one thing that will get us through all our troubles, and I'll try to be very brief. I remember the first question I ever asked Radhanath Swami. He was playing the harmonium in the middle of the green in Ohio University. I went to him and I said, teach me the secret of mystic power, if you can believe that, because I knew that he had some, I had some introduction to him. And so he, eventually at the end of the night, after having me do some service all day long, said, we're not too interested in mystic power, but I will answer you. The more you show up, you will get your answer. And in the end, when I approached him and another devotee and said, I can't get rid of this anxiety. I was a senior in college and I had majored in everything but what I was supposed to major in, and I was supposed to be graduating, but I was nowhere close, etc. Much anxiety. And are you still okay? I remember going to the devotee saying to me, Krishna Katha. I said, I can't get rid of this anxiety. He says, how many rounds are you chanting? And I said, 8. And he goes, well, there's a mystic power to 16 rounds. It's magic. When you go to 16, that the whole dome, Krishna puts a dome over you and he calls Maya off you. He actually says, he's mine now. So that little simple thing that Lord Chaitanya gave us, that little simple thing that Srila Prabhupada gave us, that if we can make it to 16 rounds, 2.5 hours, 3 hours, of your first best fruits of the morning, that despite not being able to stick the philosophy in your head, or maybe you're not in the mode of goodness, maybe you don't have anything going for you, if you just give over that 16, those 2.5 hours of good time, of your best time, then Krishna says, oh, he's sincere, I'm going to protect him today. And that's how I get through. And I just wanted to share that because your class reminded me of that promise. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Bhima Prabhu, thank you so much. I always love hearing from you. I just want to say honestly, I love hearing from you. When we tune in on YouTube sometimes, and when the question and answer period comes, and it's like, okay, Bhima Prabhu, I'm always like, Haribol. It's like you're all like celebrities to me, all of you. So when it comes like that, when different, each of you are speaking, Bhima Prabhu, Shikshastra Prabhu, Adipurusha Prabhu, all of you. It's like it's just amazing. And, that ability to connect the philosophy to your life experiences is just so admirable and so beautiful. And it's something that we're striving to cultivate, because it ceases to be theoretical. You can talk about your experiences meeting Radhanath Swami and being at Ohio University, the doubts you were having, how it all happened. Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to express appreciation for that. Thank you so much for sharing your story, Prabhu.
Dina Bandhu Prabhu, there is a very nice question in the chat from Kartik.
Okay, let's see. Okay, Kartik Prabhu, thank you. So you mentioned something like offering everything we do to Krishna, whether good or bad. This has confused me for a while. Why is it okay to offer our bad acts to Krishna? What does it even mean to offer something bad to Krishna? Okay, this is a wonderful question. Thank you very much, Kartik Prabhu. So not that we deliberately try to offer bad acts to Krishna. Of course, the best we can do is to try to go through this process of anartha nivritti, the things that are holding us back in spiritual life. We're trying gradually to shed those, to find a higher taste. This is definitely the path that is given. But at the same time, the offering comes in recognizing our limitations, recognizing that without mercy of the devotees, without mercy of Guru and Krishna, that we are performing so many bad acts because we're conditioned. And in this way, so it's not that we're offering the bad actions to Krishna, but that as it becomes something of an offering, though. So it's basically, as we are performing actions and there are things that are detrimental to our spiritual life, there's a prayer there. There's not a denial. There's a prayer there of Krishna, I can't stop doing this, or Krishna, this is so difficult for me, or Krishna, I'm so attached to X, Y, and Z. I want you to just be there for me in my life. I want you to be part of this. Don't let me forget you, even while I'm doing these things. That is how we can offer it to Krishna, this aspiration to remember him through it all, the prayer to remember him through it all. Because Krishna always wants us to be remembering him, not only in a compartmentalized way that, oh, when I'm in the temple and I'm all, enthusiastic and so on and so forth, then I'm going to remember the Lord and then I'm going to leave. I've told you all probably this story, in my own life, how it used to be that when I would go to the Bhakti Center and I would leave, I would feel a little bit of relief when I'd walk out the door. I'd feel like, okay, I can kind of exhale. Now it's back to, the real world. And then progressively in time, the Bhakti Center, the temple, being there with the devotee, that was the real world. And when I left, I started to feel like, oh, this is so gray, So in that way, this is the offering we can make, that Krishna, I want you to become my real world. I don't want this to be my real world. Even though right now I'm still attached to it, please help me to make that shift and help me to become more and more attracted to you, to your devotees. So that's how we can kind of offer our difficulties. And to be honest, Krishna values truth, as this verse said.
We can be grateful if there's a shortcoming. It's humbling. Fall down is sobering, humbling. And we realize, I need this shelter. And thank you, Krishna, for showing me, that I have work to do, that there's more to go than where I am right now. But I offer you myself as I am. Mistakes and everything. Whatever I've got, I'll do my humble best. Please, Lord. And Krishna is so kind. He accepts, and we do our humble best.
Yeah, every time Krishna smashes our ego, it's very good for our spiritual life. Thank you, Krishna, for smashing us.
Thank you for
I
sharing.
really like. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but before I forget, Dina Bandhu, Prabhu, I love that, Krishna, I want you to be my real world, not the world that I came from. This is so important, especially nowadays. If you make the mistake, of course you have to, but if you start paying attention to the real news, and then you go down the rabbit hole and realize even the so-called real news is false, and there's something going on underneath, the demons are up to no good, and it can be very troubling deep down inside. And you end up just saying, oh, Krishna, help me. Kamsa is at it again, Hiranyakashipu is at it again. By any other name, it still smells the same. And I love, it's just so simple. Krishna, I want you to be my real world. And it's so true. That's the thing is that the more you surround yourself with the devotees, with the program, with kirtan, with japa, with Krishna's name, the easiest surrender in the world is Krishna's name. Krishna becomes the real world, and then pretty soon you just float. So thank you putting that on a bumper sticker. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Yeah, we feel that Adipurusha Prabhu was just saying how, the more we can offer our full self to Krishna, then Krishna will become that world for us. And yeah, it's
At our 8th Avenue, at our guest program, we clean surfaces. We use the spray cleaner. We spray it on the surface, and then we grab a paper towel and clean the surface. So believe it or not, but Adipurusha Prabhu offers the spray cleaner to Krishna. That's how advanced Adipurusha Prabhu is.
Hare Krishna. Beautiful to hear. Beautiful to hear. Yeah, offering everything. Thank you. Thank you so much for that example.
Yeah. So we have 1 minute. Would anyone else like to contribute? If not, I'll share what Bhima Prabhu shared with me yesterday. He agreed to be my 12-step sponsor. Thank you, Bhima Prabhu. I need you. So he shared with me how Radhanath Maharaj, his spiritual master, gave him this Guru Kshetra moment, gave him this mission, gave him this unique, custom-made instruction to fulfill in life. Bhima Prabhu, if you're still with us, can you tell us what that was? And that instruction really pulled my marriage out of the fire yesterday. I really applied it, and it worked. I used Bhima Prabhu's lines, and it worked. So Bhima Prabhu, can you tell us what?
Are you
what
talking about? Are you talking about when I drove to New Vrindavan just to get
with your dogs? Yeah.
Yeah. One time, because I hadn't seen Maharaj in almost a year, and I was troubling for a mission, something to do that I could set my mind to, so that I'd have, an aim, a target to shoot for. And I drove, and I had heard that Maharaj was visiting New Vrindavan, or was going to, and I drove all the way across from Boston to New Vrindavan in a 15-hour, 108 mile per hour journey. And when I pulled in to New Vrindavan, no one was around. It was prior to the festival. And when I pulled into the parking lot, there was Radhanath Maharaj sitting on the sidewalk chanting. And so I went over to him and I said, Maharaj, I came all the way here. I go, I we paid I paid my obeisances, and I said, I've come here just to learn, to get a mission, something to do from you, because I had read about Prabhupada's mission and Bhaktisiddhanta's mission, and everybody had a mission. So long story short, finally, after a whole weekend of trailing behind him like a puppy, we were alone in a room, and he made me promise that I would follow whatever he said, no matter what. He made me vow, and then he made me vow that I would tell my wife. And I was like, what's this all about? And I was a little bit scared about the mission he was going to give me. I thought it was going to be something I couldn't handle. But with the mission, of course, comes with the guru's orders comes the empowerment. So I said, okay. And I promised twice. And then he said, I want you to make, and I thought he was going to say, make $1 million and donate it to, or whatever. And because he hesitated, I want you to make your wife happy. I want you to make your wife happy. So I will, next time I will tell more of how that turned out, but how much I learned from that, and how much I learned that everyone around us, including our most intimate associates like our spouses, have so much to teach us about humility and tolerance, and being more humble than a blade of grass and more tolerant than a tree, because I'm trying to make my, etc. Hare Krishna.
I'm sure a lot of
so much,
empowerment came with this instruction.
Love this
Thank you so much. Yeah, right?
Hare Krishna.
Okay. Dinabandhu Prabhu, thank you so much for being who you are, for being with us this morning. And thanks everyone for contributing to this session. It's a blessing to have you all in our life. Krishna is real. Krishna is real. Okay. Have a wonderful day. Sunday, go to the temple. Right? Dinabandhu Prabhu, you're going to the temple? You're going to see Maharaj? No?
Yes, last night we were there, but perhaps tonight also. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Great.
It's so wonderful to be with all of you. Thank you for the opportunity, Ananda Bihari Prabhu. Thank you all so much.
Okay, Andrea is giving us darshan of her deities.
Oh, wow, beautiful. Hi, Gornita. Thank you.
It's hard to angle it, but yes, this is our Sri Sri Nitai Gaur Sundar.
And baby
Thank you so much,
Jagannath.
Dinabandhu Prabhu.
I'm gonna
Maybe
pin the
classical
video.
words.
Let's see. Spotlight. Replace spotlight. There we go. Yeah. Haribol.
They look so happy, Andrea. They like the backdrop, I bet.
Come on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate so much your presence also of these classes every day. Thank you.
Yeah, Andrea is our presiding deity of this class.
No.
We would quickly go down without her.
No,
Okay.
I think that what really I connected today with Dinabandhu Prabhu's class is the idea of that our spiritual practice and our spiritual life is a shelter, not a place to hide. And that when we have those loving relationships with devotees, that we don't have to hide our struggles. And like you said, it's not about talking about it to everybody and you have to pick who you can have that confidence with. But those of us that are having these loving relationships, especially in this class, I feel like we're all kind of connecting in such deep ways. As you said, Dinabandhu Prabhu, the Q&A session is really one of my favorite parts because we're all kind of sharing from our hearts. And also the chat, which the people on the video don't get to see. Yeah, which makes me think of like how in Wisdom of the Sages, how they say like the chat is there's so much nectar in that. So we encourage those who are watching the recording later that if you're interested in joining our little Zoom chat community. Like, come and participate live. It's really, it's nectarian in the chat, how we all kind of try to support each other and give each other insight. Anyway, that's my commercial for our class. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. I'm thinking, Himangi just turned off her camera. Himangi, there's no need to hide your struggles. Come on, come back. Come back. Keep your camera on. Yes, good. Nothing to hide. This is a shelter. We don't hide. Dima Prabhu is hiding something. Angelica, why are you hiding? Come on. Let's turn on the cameras.
Thank
Where
you
are you?
for this invitation, but I usually listen to classes around my parents and they don't want to.
Oh, okay. No, we were just joking. We respect your privacy. No problem.
Rupert was in the park, it looks like. Or maybe this is just his space, his place.
That's his kingdom.
Yeah.
He's making sure all the squirrels are happy.
I do want to share appreciation, and I just really appreciate you, Nanda Bihari Prabhu, for your Krishna conscious jokes. It's just like
Krishna.
so sweet.
Yeah, I need someone to keep me in check. Sometimes my jokes, that's my wife's service. She keeps me on track, so to say, with this. So if I make an inappropriate joke, please forgive me, please. I love you all dearly. And it's a highlight of my day and night to see you all every morning so steadily. Okay, with this, I have to go. Hare Krishna. Love you all.
We love you too, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the honest discussion, like you said, Andrea, so nourishing.